My next guest, it's CONRAD CASON. And let me tell you, man, this guy, if anybody's seen anything, watched him play a little bit, whether it's pitching, batting, or at short, you kind of know what I'm talking about. What's up, fam? Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to start out with a couple of fun questions here. I usually go the opposite, and I like to do these at the end, but I think I'm going to start out with these. So, if you could have dinner with three people, they cannot be family members, okay? If you could have dinner with three people, legends of all time, any and all time, it can't include me. I know one of them would be me, obviously.
1000%.
I like this one because it puts people on the spot nice and early.
Yeah, 1000%. I think so. For me personally, I'm gonna go first one. Gonna go one of the founding fathers of America. Also, there's a play after him, and for me, I personally love this play. I love the music in it, and it kind of just tells a story.
Going Hamilton. You're going
I'm
Hamilton.
go Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
1000%.
That's a really mature and cool answer, man.
I mean, like for me, I just love like the play and the show and like the story it tells. But then you hit it and music in it is just like second to none, one of the greatest soundtracks ever. And so it's like, all right, you got a whole musical that people are making edits to LeBron James and Michael Jordan. like, hey, I gotta sit down and I gotta talk to you. Second, I'm gonna go Conor McGregor.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, I think just as a kid, so I don't know if you know this or whatever, but
I saw you did a little martial art. You did some fighting, right?
Yeah. So growing up, I did martial arts growing up. I have my black belt. And so I actually like really when I was younger, like I had a crazy obsession with the military. And so I really just wanted to play sports, to like get ready for that. I'm like, oh, this is going to be my journey, my story. And then it just happened to be like as I got older, I started to understand sports more, and I started to actually like I was good. I was good when I was young, but I started seeing how good I was, and I was like, all right, wait, maybe I can do this.
Yeah. And you could have played sports while in the military, but I'll tell you, you have one of the more interesting trajectories, man, because I did read that and I read how stoked you were about military. Is it family? Do you have military
parents, grandparents, and great grandparents?
Okay.
Like just when I was younger, I don't know what it was, but I genuinely just I got like a strong bone for, America and the military. And so for me, I was just like, yo, I'm going to do this when I was a kid. And like, I had every single Nerf gun you could think of growing up. like I swear, like my parents will be the first ones to tell you, they're like, he played sports probably for fun and thought like right after high school, he was going to go to the military.
Yeah. You were like steadfast, like it was set. You were going.
Yeah, no, like it was set. It was like in my mind, I was like right after high school, I'm going. And then I was like, all right, as I got older, probably I hit the age of 12 and I was like, hey, you're pretty good at the sports thing. Let's try this out for a while. And so kind of, I say
sometimes God has a different path for you.
Yeah. He works in mysterious ways. So
absolutely.
And then the third person, I don't know how many people I'll make mad with this, but I'm gonna say LeBron James,
Not making anybody mad. I ask the question a lot and I either get like a Michael Jordan or a LeBron James. And I'll tell you what, man, there'd be nothing wrong with sitting down with both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be great. And honestly, if you don't mind, I'm going to throw a fourth person in here. Just like,
please do.
When you get older in the sports world, you're going to end up on ESPN. So I got to sit down with Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
I think so. Those four guys right there for sure.
Stephen A. Smith is so polarizing, and the guy makes such an impact. Like he gets a bad rap, I think, sometimes just because of his demeanor, right? And kind of his overemphasis. But he's so courageous, dude. And everything that he stepped up and said to LeBron about Bronny and all that stuff. And, LeBron, you've probably heard that a little bit. Yeah. LeBron made it real personal, and it was like he has a job to do, and he was just telling it as it is. He didn't make it too personal, I don't think. He was just saying, listen, this roster spot might not be best fit for Bronny. So those are all great answers, to be honest, man. I love that question because it gives me a good perspective and kind of a peek inside who you are, as
100%. I definitely think that's like a setup question for who he is a little bit as a person, like who they want to sit down and have dinner with. So
for sure. We're just going to go straight up with the breakfast cereals. What's your favorite breakfast cereal? And you can, you can give me two. You can give me two if you want.
Yeah. Really, I actually only eat two types. It's Cinnamon Toast Crunch and it's the blue Frosted Cheerios.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. The frosted Cheerios. Okay.
yeah, Frosted Cheerios and a Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Not a big cereal guy then, right?
I'm not a big cereal guy.
Yeah. I'm not much either, man. But the kids are starting, the Lucky Charms are good, and the Reese's Puffs are pretty solid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we can kind of move on. Now we got that out of the way. Eighth round, taken by the Red Sox. And, I like when people kind of say things like huge risk, huge reward, and the reason why I say I like that is because I totally disagree with it, right? I think people kind of say things like that, and it's kind of a sexy cliche thing to say, right? Like the Red Sox do their homework just like any other team. The Red Sox put so much emphasis this year on pitching. I mean, if you look at their draft picks from 24, I want to say 20 rounds, maybe 13. So I think that the guys they were taking, the bats that they were taking, and so interesting because we're talking about a pitcher and a short, right? And we're going to dive into that in a minute. But they must have crazy respect for you in your game, man. Because listen, you're young, you're 17. And to take one of those picks in the eighth round, there were some guys taken later where people, but how did you feel about not only the risk the Red Sox took on you, but being picked where you did and kind of the plans that they might have for you?
Yeah. I kind of say this on every for people who ask me why didn't I either go to college being an eighth round pick. For me it was I kind of knew waking
Well,
up.
hold on, time out, bro. Listen, they didn't pay you like an eighth round pick, right? So
No,
let's be straight up about a couple of things,
yeah,
right? I mean, that couldn't have hurt.
yeah, no, 1000%. That 1000% was important for sure.
I'm messing with you, but I do
Uh,
want to hear this.
yeah, no, but kind of later towards day one, towards the end of day one, even, like I woke up day two, ate breakfast, and like going into the draft started at 12 o'clock. I didn't want to say on day two, like probably around 10 o'clock. I knew like I was going to be a Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
Kind of the way things had worked out, kind of everything that goes on behind the scenes. It was like before the third round started and the first name called, I was like, all right, I'm going to Boston. It just happens to be one time, and when do I need to really pay attention to the TV?
Was it internal gut instinct or were there conversations?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Yeah,
Or
yes.
you felt it too. Isn't that kind of funny too, man? How you can almost manifest it, you know?
Yeah, I kind of felt really good just like that. Like, I talked to these guys enough. Their area scout back in Georgia, Mr. Kurt, who's an incredible man, being able to just connect with him and talk to him and build the relationship I had with him. I knew like, that was one of the big teams going in anyways. And then, it just happened to be that at the beginning before day two started, I was like, all right, I think the Red Sox are going to call my name. And then happens to be, eighth round, they call my name and things like that happened out. But yeah, no, it's been
And
great.
that had to be pretty exciting hearing the name. I mean, did you have who was around you? Like what was going on? Did you have your mom, dad, family?
Yeah, so it was me, mom, mom and dad. We were in the middle of moving, or I guess they were in the middle of moving. So we were upstairs in the family room upstairs. And kind of wanted to keep it small just because we got a lot of stuff going on. But then I know I had my TV was actually behind. So I looked at my phone and one of my and he texted me. He was like, "Congrats, dude, I love you." And I was like, I didn't want to say anything because I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Like 5 seconds after
You had a little delay.
with pick 267, going to the Boston Red Sox, calling a case on. And I was like, oh, hey, that's why he texted me. And then kind of after that, my phone started blowing up and it was super cool. I posted on Snapchat and Instagram and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it was great.
And I don't care who you are, man. You could be the most highly touted guy after. You could be Paul Skeens, right, or whoever. But as soon as you see that name and that draft pick, man,
Yeah.
it's a shot. Well, other than you wanting to be GI Joe, this was the next best thing for you, right? It's just so crazy, and seeing that, and man, I can't emphasize enough, you being so young and seeing that, a lot of these guys I've been talking to who were drafted, they go the normal route, right, of the college avenue, and they're 22, 23 years old, and I've
Yeah.
talked at length about that in a lot of my interviews about which the right way to go is. And there is no right way to go. It's whatever you feel in your gut, right? And again, you trust God, you trust your gut, you trust that whatever that is, and you're where you're supposed to be right now. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And that you don't seem like you're 18 years old, and
I appreciate
maybe
it.
it's an old soul or whatever it is, but like really it's impressive just the way you compose yourself. And that's what's going to take you places too. There's a maturity level that a lot of younger ball players or anyone who gets early success can fall into a trap. How do you discipline yourself? Like, for example, what do you do to kind of stay away from that stuff, right? The riffraff, even like girls or parties or whatever. How do you stay focused on the game and just doing what you're doing?
Yeah, 1000% kind of just goes back to how I was raised, my parents. So kind of just, being taught to stay the right course and, always be a leader, not a follower, or whatever you can do. And always like, when it comes time to follow, make sure you follow the right people. So, being a freshman and a sophomore, playing high school baseball, even my eighth grade year played high school baseball, following the seniors and the juniors and all those older guys who I knew were on the right path, were willing to go the same route in the same way, have the same vision, whether it was going to go play college baseball that I had. So being able to just watch them as a young kid, and then whenever it was my time to lead, making sure I led the right way, and kind of carrying that into pro ball. Obviously, this year was a little different because when I first got drafted, I was 17 years old, but in this year's draft, I was the only high school kid. So for me being
Are you really
17,
the only?
yeah, I was the only one. So, with me being 17 at the time and then also being the only high schooler, I didn't know what in the world was going on. So kind of he's not here anymore, but I kind of latched on to Brandon Montgomery, latched on to Peyton Tolley. Me and him, we both went up to Boston together. But
Oh, he's my dude. I love
yeah,
Peyton.
no, Peyton's
He's
awesome.
he's my
Um,
dude.
he's great. And also being able to just, now, rooming with him for spring training and seeing how he carries himself and all that
Oh, you
stuff.
roomed with Peyton?
Yeah, so it's me. We got a big house. It's myself, Peyton, Devin, and Steven. So
Okay.
it's
Brooks?
yeah, Steven Brooks.
Great dude too, man. That's
No,
got to be a fun household. You got to tell me a
yeah,
little bit
that was
about
fun.
that, man. Like any good pranks or anything going on in that household? You guys got to like if I'm in a house like that, man, with you guys, I would constantly be screwing with somebody. Like there'd be like the saran wrap on the toilet, or there'd be like the shaving cream in the face. That's how I can picture your place be just this. It's like a frat house, man.
A
You're
little bit.
right, but it's got to be
um,
fun.
yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Actually, tonight we got poker night, watching some
Nice.
basketball. That's kind of how we all connect. Is we'll go play poker downstairs or whatever it is. We'll have movie night downstairs. Just get get some food, get some popcorn and stuff like that, and we'll start watching movies and stuff. So
You said something that I have so much respect for, and that really resonated with me is, I preach lions, not sheep in my household. You had said the same exact thing when you said leaders, not followers. But then you said, if you are going to follow, make sure it's the right people, right? I
yeah,
think that's the key ingredient. You can't always be the leader, right? So,
100%.
if you're, say you're in that clubhouse, you were raised to be a leader, not a follower, the alpha dog, whatever. Well, if you're in a clubhouse with those cats, right? Like, and Trevor Story's hanging out with you or so, right? There's times where you might need to follow.
Yeah.
But then those are the guys that you want to follow. There, I had heard Kristen Campbell had given you. He's kind of been a guy for you too. Is that true?
Yeah, no, Campbell, he's KC. As you can tell, we have a lot of abbreviations for guys.
Oh, and
Uh
that's good. Baseball, man. I just got done coaching my 10U team literally right before this. That's where I was, and I'm like, listen, guys, if you don't let everybody's got to have a nickname. Like that's just the way it is. You know
1000.
what is yours? What because you're C squared now in my book. What do they call you?
Yeah, no, actually, our one of our strength and conditioning guys, he started calling me CC squared, which was pretty funny. Pretty much all the way through middle school and high school, bunch of friends called me Connie.
Okay.
So in pro ball, that one kind of hasn't really stuck yet, but CC squared has kind of been the one that people have gone with a little bit. So
I dig that one. I'll give you a good story. This is a great story. You'll enjoy this. During COVID, the Blue Jays played in Buffalo. So the
Mhm.
Buffalo Bison's the affiliate team, right? Well, they couldn't come over the border, so they had to stay in Buffalo and play their game. So we had a whole summer of basically Major League Baseball in Buffalo. Well, I was just kind of getting into all my media stuff. This was a couple years back, and I was parking back, where the players park and all that stuff. And I had pulled in and I got out. It was just me, and I'm walking into the game, and I look over, and it's just me and Jose Altuve.
Yeah,
So we're walking into the game together, and I'm telling you, this dude, he's like 5'5", and I'm walking in, he looks, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, hey, what's up? And then we just walked into
yeah,
the stadium together. It was just so bizarre. It kind of goes back to the whole baseball personalities. But I was shocked how little this guy was, and he clobbers the ball.
yeah. I mean, like that's kind of the other thing where it's like baseball players, you come in all forms and shapes and sizes, but then it's also like you can be the prototypical type for a baseball player and you can suck,
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
can be Jose Altuve, which is not the ideal baseball player height or whatever it is, and you are going to be a Hall of Famer whenever you retire in 3 or 5 years, whatever it is. But going back to the baseball personality, it was like my first, or no, our first day of spring training whenever the big leaguers got here or started to come in. So it was, I want to say 2.5 weeks before all the big leaguers got down. Rafael Devers. It was his first day. You hear horror stories about, not in baseball, but it could sometimes be in baseball, but other sports like basketball and football and all that stuff where you have your star players won't say anything to rookies or to young guys or whatever it is. It's probably, quarter mile haul, the quarter mile walk that we always famously talk about is like, you look up and you see him, he's far away. So you look back down, and as you get closer and closer, you start looking up and you start staring at him. Well, pretty much, I think the whole way I was locked eyes with Ralph the whole time. And then, as soon as we got right next to each other, he actually stops, looked at me, gave me a fist bump, asked me how I was doing, how everything was going. And like, kind of just goes to show you, it's like that baseball personality where, everybody, is a good person. And,
it's such a class act move,
1000%, 1000%.
And bro, you being 17, Endeavor's been in the league for what, 8 or maybe 8 years. You were 9 years old or so, and you were watching these guys, right? I mean, you were a Braves fan, but still you were a baseball fan. So all these guys that you were watching, is that surreal to you? Like guys, because you're not so far removed. That's what I mean. When you're drafted so young, like 5 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. You were 12 and you were watching Mike Trout or whoever, right? And guys that are still playing, even a Trevor Story, who you're playing with, that your teammate with now. Is that surreal? Do you ever just sometimes look back and be like, man, I can't, like, what? I can't believe where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. I think me and Campbell and a couple other guys, we went out to dinner. And I asked Christian because I think people forget, he's one having a great spring training, but two, he has a great chance to make the opening day roster.
I think so. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think people forget, like, Christian got drafted last year. He was in the 2023 draft. And so I kind of still asked him, I was like, hey, like, you were drafted last year. So take, your last year version of yourself, still in college. Like, how does it feel now to be locker mates with Ralphie or Trevor Story? And he was like, it's kind of crazy. But then it's also like, at the end of the day, this is your job now. It's like, how would you feel if you're a new broker on Wall Street and you're working with the Wolf on Wall Street? It's like, all right, cool. I admire you. I'm great with you. Let's build a relationship. I want to see how you do everything. But then it's also like, I have to do my own thing. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is our job. This is our profession. And we're doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for our future families, but we're also doing this for the fans and the people.
Your attitude and saying what you're saying right now is just emphasis. This is a icing on the cake of why you are going to be a star in this league.
Yeah.
I mean it. It just it's almost blowing my mind, man, how well spoken and how you seem to already have this figured out, because you're so right. Where you're supposed to be, like, you belong there, and I think maybe that's sometimes where people get caught up. It's not a fanboy situation or anything, but when you walked up to Devers, pound him right back and, hey, what's up, right?
Yeah, like, that's how it was. He looked at me, he said, how are you doing? I looked at him, I gave him a fist bump. I was like, I'm doing good. He asked me how I was enjoying everything, because it was kind of pretty clear that, the new guys were on this side of the locker room. So he kind of I don't know who all he spoke to. I kind of, after that, I left and did my own thing for the day. So I don't know who all he saw, but yeah, that's kind of the mentality. Like, gave him a fist bump, said, hey, I'm doing good.
Knew who you were. He made you know what I'm saying? You're on the map there, and you're being talked about, man. There's a buzz around you. I'll tell you that right now, man. I got my ear to the street with baseball, and there's a buzz around you. There's a few guys that there's a buzz around. You're absolutely one of them. As far as position players, I would say there's less. There's more in the pitching right now. I think this Boston Red Sox draft class of 2024, and you've heard it here first, is going to go down as one of the best draft classes ever in the history of Major League Baseball. Mark my words, man. 23 wasn't too shabby either, but I'm saying, 24 is going to go down as the best. They have lights out pitchers with just nasty stuff. Now, you got to tell me honestly, all right, what do you like better? And what do you see going on with you? Like, I mean, it's so amazing. Shortstop, pitcher, and smack the heck out of the ball. So to have this, it's never happened. Like, this dude behind me, Okay, if you're familiar
Yeah,
with that man right there, he was my idol. He's a legend. That was actually that picture was made by an artist. Shout out Deontay Howard from Kansas City who made
yeah,
that.
that's sick.
It's
That's
crazy.
sick.
He does these wicked artist renderings, man. I'll link you up with him at another time. Also, shout out Johnny Damon and A Game and Ball Players Bomb. Got to make sure I get my sponsors in there. But this guy kind of broke the mold. Him and Deion Sanders with just kind of being the two sport athletes. But you have more of a concentration of a game within the game. Nobody's ever played short and pitched and hit and done it where, people have done it, right? High school and stuff like that, obviously. But
100%.
you, if I'm not mistaken, this is the role you want to take as a player, correct?
It's something that I made very clear, or at least I tried to make it as clear as I could throughout the whole draft process. Is this is something I want to do, and let me fail at it before you just take it away.
Love it.
And that's something that Boston was really, really open to. And that's something that I loved about them. That's the one thing that's great about this organization is that they're not willing to tell you no until no is the answer. And that's what I've seen from, throughout at least my time right now. Obviously, haven't really played a season anywhere or done anything like that. But that's kind of what it is. You're gonna go, they're gonna let you go until the answer is all right, we need to pull you back to hop off the wheel. And so, but this is something I want to do. I think I can do it, right? You got to have the mentality of you
The
can.
confidence, yeah.
So it's not a cockiness, it's a confidence, like
Oh,
you
dude,
said. So
yeah, absolutely. There's
100%.
no arrogance in your voice at all.
No, no, no.
It's a humble confidence, man. And believing in yourself and believing that you can be the one to do it is what's going to make you do it. And you're in such a raw show and prove time right now. You know what I'm saying? So what's cool is let's say you start single or high, right? Wherever it is, and you're able to go out and not only do it, but do it successfully, man. You're going to have some people turning their heads and scratching and be like, wow, okay, maybe this is something. I think the biggest fear for any organization investing and all that is, can you sustain it and have a long career with it?
1,000%. I think right now that's kind of the biggest focus is can I have the work capacity or how do we build the work capacity to
It's a
do
lot of
this?
baseball, like
1,000%. It's not like you're just playing the field and you're swinging about. Like you're doing everything. You still got to get your curveballs and your sliders and your splitters and your changeups and
of course.
stuff in. So right now it's
And
building up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but that's so much focus too on the pitching end of things. You know what I mean? Like, cause those, you need to hone your craft. You may have, I saw a dude, you're coming in 98, and then, but you need to maybe hone your craft with your spin rate on a 92, right? Where that might take, some time to concentrate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 1,000%. I get what you're saying, 1,000%. But yeah, so that's kind of the one thing I think people forget or like people just don't realize as fans looking outside is like there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes. Like there's so many things you can do to help your glove work or how to become a better infielder. There's so many things you can do to have a better slider, a better splitter, better fastball, and even like adding pitches too, because of we have so much technology here in Pro Bowl that you just don't have at facility or even at high school. So
the splinker.
What I'm saying, there's so many new
Are you
pitches.
throwing a splinker yet, man?
No, I no.
Stay away from the splinker. It's like
1,000%.
What's your favorite pitch to throw? Fastball?
Fastball? I think
just blowing it by people, right?
Yeah, throwing 98 and 100 like has its perks. So
I'll never know, but I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So being able to just dominate with 98 and 100 sometimes and 96 whenever I want to, it's a lot of fun for sure. So fastball 1,000%.
And you have the speed, and you have not only the speed on the bases, but the bat speed, and you have the power. I don't like to use the term five-tool player. I think it's played out, and I don't like it because now you can be, well, in the case of C squared here, you can be the seven-tool player, right? Enough of this five nonsense. That was Trout. Now we got my man C. He's up at the seven-tool player.
Yeah, we got to start adding things. So
we got to start adding them up. This was great, man. I truly appreciate you taking some time with me. It's always a pleasure when I get to talk to young men like yourself who, who I can tell are just genuinely fans of the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what I love in talking to you as well, and just a couple of things that I pick up on that maybe some people wouldn't. you're an absolute student. You're an absolute student of the game. There's that attitude. You can't tell me nothing, right? I'll deal with it with 10-year-olds I was just with.
Yeah.
Hey, I really need you a little more knee bend because I think you can drive a little bit more power with your front leg. And no, my dad told me this, man. You can't tell me nothing. You need to have willingness to be open-minded. And maybe it's a way you never did it in the past, but you're going to respect your first or third base coach or your hitting coach with the Boston Red Sox. You know what I mean? So
1,000%, 1,000%. So I think I can tell you, we've made adjustments to my hitting, and you make adjustments every single day. You make adjustments every single day when it comes to fielding. So it's just the little things and adding them to your repertoire and to your arsenal to use whenever you need to pull it out and use it. But knowing that you can always rely on your base skills, and then from your base skills, you can always elevate. You can always elevate every single day. There's only been one perfect man, and he's up there. So, you're never going to be perfect.
Love that too.
Yeah, right. Like, you're never going to be perfect. The only thing you can do is improve every single day. And so I forgot. I'm sorry to keep going, but I think I was.
No, bro, you're not keeping me on. I mean, listen, I'd sit and talk for 3 hours. I just,
1,000%. But there was a TikTok the other day that I saw, and it was like, I want to say there's a guy giving a speech, and he was talking to a team, and he said practice makes, and obviously everyone says perfect because that's the quote that we all grow up on and we all hear. But no, he goes, no, there's only been one perfect man. He's up there, right? Like, practice makes improvement, and as long as you can improve every single day and get 1% better every day and be a pro every single day, no matter what it is, you're going to get better, you're going to improve, and your game's going to take you off to new heights. And so that's kind of what I choose to do, is like be a pro every day, get 1% better every day, and practice makes improvement. So just building off of that each and every day, each and every time I step in the facility. And
you don't mind if I steal that, do you? Because
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I think that's going to be, man. I think my team's going to need to hear that right away because there's so many old cliche. Practice makes perfect, and this, and you know what I mean. And I like the different spins on them. The practice makes improvement. You're absolutely right. It doesn't make perfection. Nobody's perfect, right? Like, I mean, you're going to go out, you're going to have a fielding error, right? You're going to be playing short. A ball's going to get smoked by. It's going to bounce off your glove. You're going to swing at a high pitch. You're going to walk a few guys when you shouldn't. And, that willingness to think about, like you just said, man, every day to get a little bit better and just hone your craft. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 1,000%.
You got big things in your future, man. And I truly appreciate, taking some time with Moneyball.
Thank you for having me.